I'm gonna start recording. It started. Let's hope this works.
Welcome to season 2 of the HIB podcast, brought to you by
Three Faces. I'm Ian. I'm the Asian Chinese guy right here. So yeah.
And Yasmin.
This is not working, is it?
Is he there?
No. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's gonna happen. We're just gonna have to see. It's a mad world out there, precisely.
Mad world.
So yeah, that's what's been happening here. What's gonna happen? I don't know. Will the world ever be the same? Nobody knows.
Definitely, people are gonna be more aware and conscious of their cleanliness and hygiene.
Well,
at least
of course, but
if not, then we've not learned anything.
Well, as for IB students, we look at things internationally. What do you guys think this coronavirus will bring us? What will it change our lives? Well, how will it change our lives? How will this entire pandemic change the structure of the world? Will it remind some of the people in the world of what they're lacking? Will they present special opportunities for some people? What's gonna happen? What do you guys think?
For sure, I think this, if anything, this does prove that a lot of things that are being done face to face can be done online. Like this whole thing.
Hey, I saw that. Read it.
No, I actually thought about that myself, but then I saw it around. I'm like, hey, I agree with that thing. Like, yeah. So I think that's actually a lot of things that people are doing face to face can be done online. Like, we don't need to leave the house, which is sad, but it's also true. And so it's like showing us how much harder we're making things on ourselves by commuting to work, by making pollution, by doing this.
Yeah, we takes ages to go to work.
Yeah, climate change. We can solve a lot of problems if we just don't commute to work, right? Like, that's a big thing in the world, and I think that's one of the big points that we might learn from this.
Yeah, but don't you think that it's a bit elitist to think like this way? Because we are the few people who actually have the capability of having school online. Like, a lot of
that is true.
A lot of schools are not being conducted at all in the US and all around the world. And a lot of jobs the majority of jobs that I would say are not capable of conducting things through online, through Zoom or Teams or whatever. So it really presents this problem that only the elite can survive. Like, if you're doing brain intensive work, of course we can do
you can do it online,
something like this.
It's all in the head.
If it's all in the head,
if you're doing manual labor,
if you can't build a house through Zoom.
Use the mind.
Let's say this. How about it opens up new doors, like new
of
options.
Course, it opens up new doors and functions.
New ideas. You know?
We as a species, as humans, still need very much.
Big words.
Oh, hey, he said the species word, guys. Oh my god.
I'm gonna claim this section as Ian's wise.
No. You ruined it.
No, all right. So we as a species will rethink what we're doing, and we're definitely going to explore on this new platform of the internet, and we have to rethink: is it worth it? Is it worth it to build everything online? Is it as or more effective than actually going to work? So, for example, we spent an hour trying to make this entire podcast work.
Yep.
And I joined in halfway through.
Yeah, so and you dropped out halfway, and then you joined in again.
Yeah.
And come to think of it, is online learning that we did for the past 3 months or wait, not 2 months or so actually effective? Is it
I'm gonna be
more
honest. The only plus side is that you can. There's a lot of plus sides,
I
but
can
like
wear
the top
anything.
two, I think, is that yeah, you can be in your underwear and you don't have to like show up. Like you can be comfortable, but you can also use the internet to help you. Like for
well,
example,
yeah, yeah,
in class,
that I very much agree.
internet is. I've like underestimated how useful the internet is when it comes to homework.
Yeah.
It's so helpful. Like it's so much easier with internet access, and
yeah,
I think that's a very good thing to think of when doing online classes.
very much
Yeah.
so. One major upside, one major I feel like I'm gonna be sounding like showing off to you guys, but a major upside for me is that I have been waking up 8:30 a.m. every single morning, like
I mean, I wake
8:30.
up at
Not
Hey, that's
even
when I go to
nine
sleep. High
o'clock.
five.
not wait, what? Oh, right, because
That's when
of
I
Nine
the
go to
time
o'clock.
yeah, high
difference.
five.
Yeah, exactly. It saved me time. That's really the benefits of online learning. Uh,
Yeah, like in a whole hour or more you can sleep.
there you go. A
So
whole
good.
hour more, I can sleep.
Yeah.
I can sleep during the empty block on Tuesday for the
Power nap.
fourth block. I can actually sleep during that time, combining with my lunchtime, which I don't always eat lunch for. That's like 2 hours of sleeping, which is really effective when you need
It
it.
compounds. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this has helped
seriously
me like
great.
realize how good kindergartners have it, man. They have nap class, like a whole class
Exactly,
dedicated for naps.
exactly.
I
They
need
have
naps,
math
man.
classes.
Yeah.
I now, man, I really miss kindergarten in that aspect.
Kindergarten.
Um,
Yeah. Let's
as
all
I
go back to kindergarten.
yeah, as I have mentioned before, in the opening of this entire podcast, there are xenophobia and racism
Yeah, that's an
really
important
fired
part.
up all around the world against Asians. What's your guys' thought on that? Like, what's been the
Oh well.
I
situation
think
in
it's a lot of
Australia? What's been the
uneducation.
situation in North Africa? And
So
yeah,
yeah, so I'll just like answer parts of it. So like obviously, this virus came from China, and so a lot of
yeah,
people are calling it the China virus or the
the
I don't know
Chinese
a
virus.
lot of different racist names and
Yeah,
whatever. And I think it's mostly on education because us as like IB students, we learn that this like we're internationally minded. We learn that this is not good. We fuse with a lot of different international people, and we view ourselves
Yeah.
as people but not as different races, and this
hmm
is different to like other maybe public schools or like different people that come from
But
different like backgrounds of like
chauvinist,
education. Yeah, and like
nationalist.
these people aren't as educated. They just see what's on the internet and like, hey, I'm gonna replicate what that guy says. They don't think for themselves basically, and I think that's a really bad way of thinking. As you can see, nowadays a lot of these people in the states are having protests because they want their freedom, and obviously that's not a good thing to do right now in like the peak of the coronavirus in the states.
Coronavirus. Yeah.
And people are warning them like, please stay at home, but they're uneducated. They don't know. They just like, oh, I don't want, I want my freedom, whatever. And I think bring this back to the like Chinese, like being
Darwinism.
racist to Chinese. Especially since the U.S. has a lot of different Chinese, has a huge Chinese population there. They started like hating against them, even though they did nothing wrong. It's not the Chinese's fault. It's somehow this virus rose out of nowhere, and they can't really do anything about it. It's not like it's like Chinese are being targeted, even though it's not their fault, and it's really annoying. So I think, yeah. Mm.
hmm
Yeah.
What
I
about you,
mean, it's
Nate?
pretty dodgy in
You're
Australia.
really
Yeah. Yeah. It's
you're
pretty bad over here.
you're normally the more philosophical one, so I wanted to hear a
Philosophical.
philosophical take from
Hmm.
our Nathaniel Wise.
And then well, I've got some practicality actually.
Okay.
Because I've got a few Chinese friends in Australia.
hmm
One used to teach me tango.
The dance.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, the dance.
Hey.
I was learning that from him. But recently, I don't know. It's just been weird because like on Twitter, it's all online. That's how
Yeah.
people communicate.
Mhm.
So there's like one or two people. It's like, oh, let's kick them all out from Australia.
Oh
It's like,
god.
really?
Oh
It's
god.
really messed up. Yeah. And that sort of freaks me out. It's like, how can you think that? What else might you be thinking? Sort of thing. So yeah, I mean that was kind of scary, actually.
Yeah.
And there's a large Chinese population in Australia, and like you've got videos online of people saying awful things. And I don't know. Some people in Australia are really, understanding, and the other half is
The uneducated part, you want to say, right?
the uneducated part, the bogans.
Yeah.
The bogans. Yeah. Anyway, that's a little brief thing.
Now that we've talked about
Yeah.
Chinese, let's talk about other things that Chinese have done in China. If you guys know what I mean. The black racism that's been happening recently, especially in Guangzhou and like southern
yeah,
parts.
very much so. Combining
Well,
with
I
that,
haven't heard about this. What?
I
So
actually want
basically,
to
yeah, let him talk.
oh, okay. Wait. Okay, who's talking right now?
You.
Yeah,
All right,
just
great.
say,
I'm just gonna ingest a bit of my thinking in here while combining with the black racism that's going on in China. I would say it's been hard. Everything.
Do you want to say the full story first of what's happening?
Yeah, sure.
Before?
Everything has a reason.
Yeah, I've got no
There's a
idea what's
reason
happened.
for China being for xenophobia, for racism against Chinese and yellow-skinned people in general, since most Westerners cannot distinguish the difference between Chinese, or Korean, Japanese, or Vietnamese, or Laos, or wherever you might be from in Asia. So yeah, these are well founded. They have their reasons. They're not right, but they have their reasons. Chinese government have done a lot of unsavory things in the past, and in response to this virus, they have concealed the extent of this virus at
certain point.
really the start of the entire thing. That might have contributed to the greater proliferation of this virus, of this pandemic around the world. So I acknowledge
No
that.
government's innocent.
I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that my government have done something wrong, and they have done something tremendously wrong in the past, and they do not have the best reputation in the world, and they don't deserve a good reputation in the world. But to go from that,
that don't deserve a
to
good
go from
reputation.
that, black people are also the target of racism because they have a past. They are in Africa. They're physically different from whites. They are physically more, intense in the way that in their way of back then in Africa, they were different. They are not inferior, but they were different, and that is the origin of racism. Just like what our government has done, that is the reason for racism against the black, and for racism and xenophobia all around the world against Chinese right now. But that doesn't mean racism against black or racism against the Chinese are correct. Those are not.
Any form of racism is wrong, basically, is what you're trying to say. Those are not.
The people did not do didn't do you harm. Like people say, one of the things that what Westerners really say, what Western, how am I going to say this? Western fanaticist say online is that just stop eating bats.
Oh, I hate that. Bat soup. Yeah, I hate that.
Like, yes, we eat bats. We also eat worms. We also eat dogs. To put it in a stronger way, bite us. Bite us. It's part of a tradition. It's like Indians not eating cows. It's part of our tradition, and we're gonna do it. It does not present any harm to you, in general. It there happens to be a virus on the bat, which is essentially in the same nature of mad cows. People are not saying to the British, stop eating cows, because the mad cow pandemic was going on a couple of years ago. So that was not really a valid argument. Personally, I do have a bit of insight in that racism, since I basically live on YouTube now because of the pandemic. I'm bored, and I made a comment on
spicy. Oh, the
on one of
tea.
the MSNBC videos, on one of the MSNBC videos, and it was against a crazy guy, essentially. That's what I'm gonna say. That says that we should essentially burn China to the ground. That's the rough idea, the pith of his comment.
The big iceberg.
And he basically called me a Chinese sympathizer. At that point, he did not. He clearly did not think that I am a Chinese. But
no, because Chinese can't speak English, dude. What are you talking about?
Chinese are squinted up little people.
Yeah, what are you talking
believes
about?
in communism and can only say Chairman Mao. Chairman Mao is our greatest leader on their little red book. That's the stereotype that they have in Chinese, but every race has their stereotypes. I do not. That's prone to happen. But then I commented back to his your Chinese sympathizers thing. I'm saying, as a Chinese, and statistically speaking, the U.S. is more in need of sympathy than anyone right now, than China, than Canada, than Australia, than Morocco. They are really the head of in this proliferation of the entire pandemic. They are
back on top, boys. Always got to be number one.
Yeah, they are the ones who need sympathy, and we must give them. We as the people of the world needs to support whomever is enduring this virus right now. That's what we need to do. That we need to applaud the production of needed services. We need to applaud the ones who are treating people. We need to applaud the ones that are making decisions to stay at home, to make other people's lives better. That's what we need to do right now. And racism and xenophobia is not the way, unless they can present a clear and valid argument of the goodness and the merit of actually burning China to the ground. Unless they can produce some kind of merit in doing such thing, I just can't stand those kind of, blatant expression of xenophobia. Like, if you want to call us, if you want to burn China to the ground, if you want to do all of these things, at least do it with a valid argument. At least do it with a debate. Like, we can agree to disagree, even if you believe in such things that will harm me personally. I do not object to a debate. I do object in name calling and just using those big words and do them in a violent and uncivil way. That is not, first of all, not the American way, not the way that any human would have would need to be treated. It doesn't have humility. It doesn't have thinking. It doesn't have the basic respect for human being, not just for Chinese, not just for blacks. And yeah, so that's how I think of the really the xenophobia rhetoric online for that instance. But at the same time, we cannot think we cannot think the same as Chinese. We cannot think that, oh, Chinese is the best, we don't discriminate against each other, we don't blah 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 blah. It's not, that is not true. As we can see from what Yassine has mentioned, we are discriminating against the black. That
before we continue on, do you want to like talk about actually what's happening so that Nate can understand?
Oh, okay. Why not? Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about the entire situation with the blacks, because you are our resident black guy?
The black person. Okay. Well, from what I know, from what I've heard, basically, is it in Guangzhou? I think it's in Guangzhou, or like in some.
It's happening in many places.
In many places, basically, landlords are kicking out the black people that are living in the apartments. A bunch of McDonald's, a bunch of restaurants are saying no Africans, no black people allowed. Due to the virus, you're filthy, you're dirty, you're gonna get us more viruses, you're gonna get us killed. So basically, this xenophobia against blacks, because they're dirty and they're filthy and they're germ-ridden and everything, they're gonna bring back the virus, although it originated from China. So I think it's just this belief that stereotype that black people are dirtier and they're gonna make the stores and make the apartments and everything, and they're forcing a bunch of educated black people to sleep in the streets and become homeless due to this.
Yeah.
On to you, Ian.
I'm not. Well, I'm not definitely. Definitely, I'm not forcing them. That I want to make clear.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah.
I'm not
a bunch
racist.
Of like dumb
blah, 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 blah. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. Don't comment in any way about my racism in any way. Whatever. But it shows an underlying problem. We are becoming rich too fast. We are the second in total GDP around the world, just behind US, and it really shows in these situations. I'm not saying that there are not xenophobia in China. There are definitely more prejudice and even more xenophobia in China than the US. But you know what's the difference? Us in China cannot or will not speak publicly out our xenophobia because it's not needed. So what's surrounding us is just basically one race. It's Han. It's everyone looks like me.
Yeah.
We don't have that multiculturalism surrounding us. We do not have a presence of white man or black man or red man or whatever.
Oh, that's actually, yeah, that's pretty profound. Yeah.
Or whatever skin color there might be. We don't have other people around us, so we do not have to voice out our racism or our xenophobia.
You'd have to see it.
And
yeah.
Also, at the at higher level, we are very much in a controlled social system. Our internet is essentially on another loop than the world. We do not have Google, we do not have Facebook, we do not have all of that stuff. What's been said by Chinese people, all of the rhetorics in China are produced by Chinese for Chinese. We do not use English, we use Chinese, and all of those rhetorics.
Oh, rest in peace, Ian.
Okay.
Wait.
That was good. I'm back.
I'm back. My
okay.
VPN just crashed, which outlines the point. Which outlines the point. I'm trying to get out of that loop where Chinese people create and make rhetorics for Chinese people. So it's very so nationalism runs through our vein. We only have one race. We only have Han in here, and external forces are not being considered ever since the early 20th century, where the British are being evaded away in many of the
Japanese come
places
in.
in China. So, well,
Yeah.
and Japanese are Asians. They're Asians. They kind of looks like us. So they are not really considered.
They're a bit different,
They're a
you know.
bit,
But I
like,
get what you're saying. They're also Asian. They're not
they're
like
also
outside
Asian.
Westerners. Yeah.
They are not outside Westerner. They are not drastically very different in appearance to us. So
Okay, yeah, in appearance, maybe.
so this thing, we do not have a race awakening like what US had, like what South Africa
In the
had
1960s
in the
in the US.
90s. Well,
Yeah.
what the US had in the 1960s with MLK Jr. or with Mandela
Malcolm
in the
X.
90s with South
Yeah.
Africa,
South Africa.
the abolition of apartheid system. We do not have that. We do not have that awakening moment where we confront, where we as a nation, as a species, well, not species, as a race,
Oh,
as a race,
that might be going a bit far. Yeah.
as a race, confronts our prejudice and our lack of knowledge for other races. So for us, white guys are strong, are good, because they are in Europe. They are strong. They are in the US. They are stronger than us. Historically, they are. They are the ones who
Historically, but
they are the ones who occupy a lot of our lands. They are the ones who beat us numerous of times, and yeah, that's why we admire them. We admire white men. We put them on a pedestal. We think of them as a superior.
that's not there anymore. Yeah.
However, it's not the same with black guys. It's very not the same.
Sadly.
Was there much of intercultural mixing back in the day?
It's not much. It's not even not much. It's not a thing. Like
imagine
guys,
like India would be blocking.
Well, yeah,
you know?
black guys are not a part of the Chinese history. Like what we have in traditional history in China is all Asians. What we have in modern history in China are the whites beating up Asians. So that's why we admire the whites. Black is a very, very, very different thing. And one that we cannot comprehend fully. Their skin color make them very, very different, and it really stands out in our culture. So that's why we think.
Do you think it's going to change anytime soon?
Very, very inferior than us, and it's not going to change unless we have an awakening moment like what the US did, like what South Africa had back in the 90s. So unless the entire Chinese population can be educated and can have that sense of humanitarian thinking that supports such awakening, this problem will persist, will not end in the near future. So
maybe if it it starts going a bit more, then maybe
it starts going a bit more.
Understand more about China as well. It will go both ways.
Well, of course. I hope so. I genuinely hope so. I genuinely hope so. But the thing is, I don't think I will be able to see it in my lifetime, and that's the sad thing. That's the sad part.
It's really closed up. It's not only blacks. It's also like every religion, every other like sub-inferior. Like obviously, there's not only the Han race in China, but because it's so prominent, all the other ones are like very.
Yeah, they have different cultures. We accept different cultures. We accept Christianity. We accept Islamism in our culture. The cultural side is not the problem. We have the fundamental difference is the race, how we look. Like we have 56 ethnicities in China in total, but most of them look like the same. Some of them look like Russians because they are northern up, but they are incorporated in our culture at the last Qing dynasty, where they have conquered us, and so they became one of us. So we accept that their existence
in Manchuria.
Because of their presence. But we do not know is the presence of blacks. What we do not know.
Are you suggesting Africa rates China?
No, well, not really. They do. Well, they don't. They don't really have the capability of doing that. At
The
least
whole
now.
continent goes to war. Probably. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably not.
We do not have the knowledge of their presence. Many of the people in China, we don't know anything about blacks. We don't know anything about Indians. We don't know anything about Eskimos. Well, if that's the right word to put it.
And not many people.
Inuits, actually.
Inuits. That right there demonstrates my misinformation about them. Like, that's the only word that I know to describe them. It's not because I have prejudices against them. I just don't know enough about them, and that is where the problem lies. We are afraid as a nation, as a race, of what we do not know. We do know we do know white guys. They have been beating us for
some are pretty aggressive.
Yeah, we know we know the Japanese. We know what they can do.
They're pretty aggressive as well.
Yeah, but we don't know anything about blacks. So we either regard them as a
hopefully they're not aggressive.
Yeah. So we either regard the blacks as some as a potential threat to us, or we regard them as someone who's inferior. Both of which
is detrimental
feels the
interrelation.
The racism and the interrelation between our races. So that's why we are seeing this racism really popping out at this special time, and I think that's the reason why. It's the ill education and the lack of adaptation to global culture of China in that sense. And the reason why I don't think it's going to change in my lifetime is because we are getting rich too fast. That's the problem. Like, China started opening up back in 1978, right? With Hong Kong
Deng Xiaoping.
Yes, and in the last 40 years, we have jumped from one of the poorest countries in the world. Well, not really the poorest, but one of the poorest.
Not the poorest.
Not the poorest, but one of the poorest country in the world to the second largest economy in the world. That's 40 years. That's only in 40 years. That's a huge jump. But that's
crazy.
But that's in money. That's something that is measurable. What is not measurable is the evolution of our culture, is the acceptance of other races, is going global.
The great noble aspects.
Yeah, we did not do that much in the last 40 years. What we see
you can see that happen with neocolonialism, where they're actually taking advantage of Africans instead of working together, and it's quite saddening actually.
Yes, very much. Very much. We are essentially feeding African with our newly earned money to get their votes in UN, to get their support against the Westerner countries and all of that, which is degrading to African countries, to say the least. But it also presents the problem that I have just stated. It's our lack of information. That lack of information and evolution of culture and global acceptance for other races are not going to be built in 40 years. We cannot be from a country where civil war was
cultural revolution,
where cultural revolution was a 10-year sap, and
that's one thing as well. You lost Chinese culture, so you weren't able.
We cannot even preserve our own culture. We went from a state where we don't know. It was the oldest one.
Thousands of years, the most developed culture, and then
and then bam, cultural revolution. We got rid of that. we basically went from a stage where we don't know if we are going to see the sunrise for tomorrow, to a place where
being the sun
where we've got the money
rising
to buy
tomorrow.
Louis Vuittons for Louis Vuittons
For whatever reason.
for you
Because
know
why not?
for like thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. We have that capability monetarily now, but the change in money has been so drastic. It outlined the lack of cultural acceptance that we have right now. So that would be the problem that we're facing right now, and it's not going to change unless we are accepting other races and their existence and learning about them in the near future. It's not
And this is
going to
exactly
change
why
fast.
globalization and other like international schools such as the IB program and, for example, not Google, but like different combination of different social medias and different online things that the whole world shares will drastically help Chinese culture adapt to everybody else's.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
So yeah.
I do really agree with you. So unless there is a drastic change,
but still needs to be controlled as well, because if like they accept other cultures too much, then they might lose what they've got. And
yeah,
I think
although
that's a bit. There's a fear of losing what you've got.
that is very
You've got
much
quite a bit now.
Yeah, that is very much so, and it is much unlikely with our current government system, where it's very much okay. I'm just going to come out and say it. We have a dictatorship. We have a dictatorship, which was
we can
really bad for us for the first 50 years of our republic, but was
but
really
then
good.
it turned out well.
But it was really good for us for the last 40 years.
Yeah, because you've been able to make decisions like that.
And yeah, that is the merits and the problem of dictatorship. If we're going to be good, we're going to be very good. If we're going to be bad, we're going to be very, very bad. So
yeah. Like
after
like
this
Russian
pandemic, there
imperial.
might be a turning point. There might be a turning point of cultural acceptance. I'm not sure if it's for the better or for the worst, but if it's going to be for the worst, it's going to get worse.
I think I highly doubt it's going to get better.
Well, yeah, me too. I doubt it's going to get better.
It's going to get good.
I know. I don't think so.
Okay. Nate, why do you think it's going to get better?
There's a lot of Chinese people in Australia, and so there's a lot of people that are getting multicultural here, because there's people from all around the world in Australia.
Well, yeah.
And they're heading back to China come like New Year's, New Year festival.
But the thing is, they're not actually like intertwining with the culture. They're like going up in groups, buying a bunch of land, and just like hard cash and like staying in groups. They're not like, as you could say, like black people are like intertwining with like African Americans or like just Chinese. Like there's not Chinese Australians, because it's like all together.
There's a few cases. There's a few cases in Australia. Like,
not as like. I know a few cases, obviously, but there's like how many, like 1 billion Chinese people, so it's not really like, it's
not going to offer a palpable change for the system. Exactly. So people aren't going to communicate with each other, and I speak as a Chinese having education and thinking of a Westerner. I do not communicate with regular Chinese people very much. In fact, at all. I just observe them. I am the 1% of the 1%. Like both my family is and cultural wise, I am the 1% of the 1%. I represent a really, really small fraction of the Chinese population. And for everyone's like me, yeah, black people, Indians, everyone, come to China. We have a great opportunities right here. But we're not like that. And through my observation in Chinese media and what Chinese are saying for everyone else, it's getting worse. It's honestly getting worse. We are blaming.
Let's get serious here. This part we might have to cut out, but I'm gonna say something now.
Yeah.
My experience, because I lived in Congo before, one of the poorest countries in the world, and it's like one of the biggest biggest targets for China to neocolonialism.
Yeah.
Neocolonialism. And so basically, what they're doing is there's a huge cultural revolution in Congo that destroyed it basically, and all the buildings, everything are gone. So what China's coming in, showing the sweet little cash, and they're like, "Hey, take all my money." And then Congo's like, they don't know what to do, so they're taking money, and they're like, China is basically rebuilding everything, all the infrastructures. But what they're doing is that they're not helping the Congolese economy. They're bringing everything from China, and the builders, they're all prisoners. They're all like bad people that are a waste for China. So they go to Congo, they cause disturbance there, and they hurt the economy and the population of the Congolese people. And basically, what they do is, I've seen this I've seen it, is that Chinese are basically secluded from everybody else. If we went on a field trip once where they were building a bridge, it was literally all Chinese, and all the Chinese were working there. There was not a single Congolese person there. There's like maybe one like person, like African guys, just to like add, oh, we're working together, but they're not really working together. All the supplies, everything is brought from China, so it shows how secluded China is from all the other like races and cultures.
Yes, very much.
I can recut to this part, maybe.
No,
I don't know.
It doesn't need to be cut out. We're
Okay.
fine. We're in the
right.
we're in the world loop of internet, not the Chinese loop of internet. So
No,
fine.
I mean like for the actual podcast, but
Oh,
whatever,
for the
right?
actual for the actual podcast, we don't need to cut the thing. I mean, it's running
All right.
long, but we are covering 2 episodes of time.
There's a
I am going to
topic
cut.
we're taking.
I am going to cut this entire thing into 2 episodes. That's all right.
Okay.
So we're good time wise, especially for our service hours. But anyways,
Right.
that is very much true. That is very much true for neocolonialism. We as Chinese are essentially going to Africa, and it's a new kind of slavery. It's not triangular trade in the 1800s anymore. I believe it's in 1800s. History student, do you know?
I'm not sure.
All right.
Yeah.
But it's a new kind of slavery. We're going to their land, using their resources, bringing our core capabilities, and making stuff there, and we are getting their support and their votes in the UN. So it's really a new kind of slavery, in my opinion. But to get back from that, as we can see from the example that Yassine has provided in Africa, and as I have seen on the Chinese internet, in Baidu and other opinions, Chinese are very much bonded together in the thinking of that all Westerners and foreigners are bad. They're hysterical. They don't do things right, and they blame China for everything. So in that sense, and in the wider public's mind of China, and personally, I think in the government of China, we are more and more isolating ourselves. We are there's a word called 嘚瑟 in Chinese, where it means that we show off and without much substances, and it's going to end bad for us. And I think we are 嘚瑟. We are 嘚瑟ing right now in China.
At the end of the day, you can't. One country cannot go against the entire world. Like
Yes.
that's just impossible.
We cannot
happen.
fight the entire world.
Peace is the only option for this.
Yeah.
Especially in times like this with the virus, like working together is the only option to propel our species into
precisely
greater things.
Precisely. So Nate, what do you think? After hearing our experience, me as a Chinese, seeing what the Chinese are saying, and Yassine as he have lived in Africa, in Congo, and seeing the situation there, what do you think is the pathway forward? What do you think in philosophy will
philosophy?
Nathaniel's wise. Anyways,
Nathaniel
what do you
Wise.
think is going to happen? What do you think is the way forward? How do you think the world can change its mind about China, and how do you think Chinese people can change its mind about the world? So you as an outsider, you as someone who does not know that much about China and the situation here, and that much about Africa and the oppression of blacks there and in China. So what do you think?
I don't know. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where the world's going.
We're all not
Yeah,
sure.
I haven't been to any, African countries. I've only been to a few countries, really. You guys have all traveled much more than I ever have. My 4 or 5 years in China's been enlightening to some degree. I think eventually we're going to find an equilibrium. Sort of like Imperial Russia. There's going to be two ways we can find an equilibrium. You can have, there was the intelligentsia that, was the liberal, but, conservative liberal sort of thing. And they were trying to do a revolution from the top.
Okay.
Just to open up borders and stuff and adopt more, global thinking. And then there was the revolution from the bottom, which were the radicals. And I don't know. I feel like eventually something's going to break. That's one way to put it.
This is not it.
Sorry?
Hopefully this is not it. This whole virus is not
hopefully
it.
this virus does not induce a breaking point for any of the countries that we are dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think I say this for you seeing, and a lot of people that's living right now in the world, we don't know where the world is going. We honestly don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. We're not sure if people are going to be remembering what's happening.
Yeah.
But,
we're not sure what people are going to
be
remembering what happened. We're not sure about the world order after this entire thing. I personally don't think the world order is going to change that much, but there is that underlying fear for me as someone who is in China, knowing what the Chinese government can do and its past, and also thinking like a Westerner, also in a, if you could call it, enlightened way.
Globalist.
In a global way, I would say. So, as someone with those qualities, I have that
position to be in.
I have an underlining fear of America and civility going down.
There's a bunch of polarization in both countries.
I have the fear of them being polarized. I have the fear of them being not on top anymore. I have the fear of eventually a oppressive and dictatorial China sitting on top of the world. I don't see that coming, but there is that underlying fear of that actually happening. I don't want that to happen because I know what the Chinese government has done to its citizens in the past. I don't want such thing to happen in the world. I don't want what's happening in Africa to be happening all around the world, in North America, in even the developing countries. I don't want what's happening in Guangzhou, the racism there, to happen in China or anywhere else. I don't want those things to happen, and it's going to happen if an oppressive and dictatorial China is number one in the world. I don't think that will happen, but that's an underlying fear of a slim chance of what the world might be coming out of this pandemic too. So,
and I think this is very profound. You're feeling exactly what everyone else in the world is feeling about China right now. I think the source of a lot of things.
I would I would like to think myself to be thinking the same as
but you can see both ways, which is
the more
important,
erudite side of the other people in the world, and not the ones who are basically calling China to burn without ever developing their own thoughts. But my thoughts are definitely more aligned with the Western thinking. But at the same time, I am still Chinese. I love my country. I would love to see my country prevail.
You don't want, yeah.
I would love to see my country prevail against the U.S.
Have a good time. Yeah.
If my country is genuine, if China coming on top of the U.S. is genuinely a benefit to human as a species, it's beneficial to globalization. It's beneficial to all of the people in the world, and I don't think, at least in the current state of China, doing that would help the world. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm a human first,
I think that's
and then
one big
Chinese,
point.
and then me. So yeah,
the world needs to know where it's going. So you say beneficial to globalization, but then we need to weigh up what we want the final outcome of the world to be, and that's the big source of everything. Is what we want the future to look like. So what you want the future to look like.
I think.
Well, I think I've already said this before, but obviously, like like togetherness and like peace is ultimately the only way to come out of this alive. And once basically the United Nations becomes the actual United Nations and the whole world becomes basically one country. After that, there's like no stopping us. We can do anything we want to do. But that's really almost impossible to do now. But who knows, man?
I don't know.
So I think in the end, our final goal is, and I can't believe I'm saying this. The final goal of the entire world is to achieve communism. Yeah.
I want the world to be the United Nations of Earth.
We want the world to be united. We want the need and desire
freedom
of every single human being be fulfilled. We want freedom for everyone in the world. We want equal chances for every person in the world, and that is essentially communism right there for you. But under this special
we want
time,
to do what we want to do.
Yeah,
basically.
Under this special time, no one knows what's going to happen. Not you, not Yassi, not me. For sure, we're just three kids in IB school trying to get some cash out of this thing. So
yeah, I say ultimately, I
think even if the experts cannot say where we're going, we cannot. Under this confusing times, what we can do.
I mean, we'd be some of the most qualified.
But the thing is, this shows how useful doing this program is, because look, we're only 17. We're already talking like this. We're thinking about as the IB wants. We are already becoming better world leaders. We are achieving for the greater humankind, basically, and that's basically why. At least I would suggest one of the only reasons why IB is worth it. At least what I think.
Yeah, IB is terrible in so many ways, undescribable. But this is one of the greatness of IB.
Yeah.
And as I was going to this point, what we can do at this confusing time of not knowing the future is to talk, is to engage in a dialogue. Is to
understand,
disagree, but we have to say the reason of us not agreeing, or the reason why we think.
Let's understand why.
And with that conversation, we can clear up a lot of prejudice. We can force knowledge into the minds that do not want to accept them. We can restore civility and reality.
I wouldn't say force. I wouldn't say force.
Okay, I wouldn't say force. We would
give them the choice.
bring upon.
Not give them the choice.
Enlighten.
There you go. That's the word. We would enlighten the
Spanish
ones
Inquisition,
who are
then.
not prone to accept new knowledges, to actually accept new knowledges. So I think hope and dialogue and the will of having that dialogue is what's eventually will keep us as a world alive. And yeah, I think with that we have covered basically what we're going to cover.
We covered
the world.
Covered a big.
Ooh.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Thank you.
Everybody's probably asleep by now because like this is the most boring thing to watch.
It's gonna be it's gonna be the most boring thing to watch, but personally I don't think it's gonna be the most boring thing to watch, but I think
bunch of people like that don't have time that are IB students, they're not gonna sit down and watch this. So.
Yeah, but
no, this is our classmates. Yeah,
we force
them. That's the right use of force there.
Get Mr. Kelly to like hunt them down and put the eye things on.
If other people can talk like
then we can get
like today. The world is going to continue. We're going to be better.
Get better and better.
Yeah, and that I think is the conclusion of what we think and what we have today.
Anyway, thank you for listening.
Episode 1,
extensive podcast.
That's episode 1, part 1, and part 2.
Yeah, we really appreciate all the support. Hopefully, if you like this video, and subscribe. If you don't, I'll punch you. I'll literally punch you if you don't subscribe. Violence, yes.
Subscribe.
We condone all violence.
Next episode, we'll hopefully have more people in, including Sam and maybe Timothy, maybe not.
Get their opinion.
Next episode for sure will be more entertaining. We're going to focus more on entertainment. Next episode, we have a few surprises, so get ready for that. If you're watching.
So many surprises.
Essentially, what we're going to talk about. So if you are an IB student, this first episode is more about how we're doing under this pandemic. Maybe it relates to you, and thinkings and the philosophy behind what's going to happen, and reflecting on what's happening. But if you are an IB student, next episode would be very much more useful to you. We're gonna talk about how we're doing under this pandemic regarding academics, how we're gonna apply to universities, what universities gonna do, how the cancellation of exams has affected us, how we are going to study most effectively under this situation, and we're gonna complain about teams being not working, teams being not working, classes, teachers giving us too much homeworks, and a bunch of more stuff. So it's going to be entertaining and informative for you in the next episode.
Anyway, thank you for watching. We love you all, but not in like a
farewell.
But not like love you, you know, like okay, it just ended. It's awkward. Bye guys.
Have some sleep, boys and girls.